prayer and hope is that over Christmas break, because you're too busy to do it right now, but you'll just, something will jog your memory, and you're going to go to theblessing.com. And at theblessing.com, that's where we really encourage people to choose, first of all, to pick somebody in your family. I mean, you want to start at home. Okay, now that could be a sister or brother, your parents, you know, and write out a blessing for them, just as a first step, and then choose one other person that if you don't give them the blessing, they're not going to get it. Now, you'll explain what that is here as we get in there, but that's where we'll end up. But let's start off by saying, well, okay, what is it? What exactly is it? Well, the blessing, we really believe, is a biblical path for doing life. And it really is illustrated, I think, well in Jeremiah chapter 6. I don't know if you've spent a lot of time in Jeremiah, but would anybody have wanted to be the prophet Jeremiah? I mean, imagine if you were supposed, God says, no, look, I want you to go, and for the next 20 years, I want you to preach to my people, but they're going to hate you and despise you, and they're not going to listen to one word you say. So go have fun. So that was the prophet Jeremiah. Wouldn't that be cool? Okay. But Jeremiah says, look, from the least to the greatest, everyone is greedy for gain. See if this sounds like anything like today. Everyone deals falsely. They have healed the brokenness of my people superficially, saying peace, peace, but there is no peace. Now, if you're in a marriage and family major or some type of counseling major or something where you're working with people, let me tell you, you're going to hear that all the time. That is one of the deepest needs for people to have, is for rest and peace and life. Well, where do you gain that? It says, thus says the Lord, Jeremiah says, stand at the crossroads and look and ask for the ancient path where the good way is, and walk in it, and you'll find rest for your soul. So there is a rest to be found. There is a way of walking, of living, that can really help you really just unpack things. I mean, think about your last final being over. You know that feeling when I mean, the last one, the last paper, and I mean, you're done for the semester. You know, and I think what this is, there's nothing like, did anybody mow yards for, like, during the summer, or anybody do something where you do some work, you know, like you, the thing that I love about mowing the yard is when I mow the yard, I mean, it's done and it just looks great, it looks finished, you know, because so much of the work that we do with people is what? It's just open loops, and it's things internal and processes that you hope begin, but you don't know for sure. And that's why it's so great to meet people. But let me tell you, if you can start heading people down the path, okay, well, what's at the path? Well, a crossroads means what? There is a choice. If you're at a crossroads, you're at a choice. And that choice that I think unleashes us and can really get us to walk out our destiny and to really live out God's blessing in the world is in Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 19. So when we make the choice, listen to this choice. Now, this is a choice God sets before his people. And he says, I call heaven and earth to witness that I have set before you, and here's the choice. It's one choice that's two parts. Okay, the first part is life or death. The second is the blessing or the curse. Now, who reads the NIV? Everybody have the NIV? Okay, well, just tear out this page in your NIV. Don't do that, actually. But the NIV translates this as blessings and curses. It's literally, in Hebrew, singular. So here's the choice. Life or death, the blessing, or the curse. Well, let's define our terms, because this is huge. Okay, now, I was a Greek major at Dallas. I went to, well, I have a really smart brother who could go anywhere he wanted to, but I started off in junior college on probation. And then I did okay in junior college wrestling, and I only got 2 scholarship offers, and one was to TCU, home of the mighty, anybody know? The Mighty Frogs, the Mighty Frogs. And of course, back then we were in the Southwest Conference and struck fear in the heart of the Longhorns. And actually, that wasn't true. We were pathetic. But still, it was a lot of fun. But I went to TCU. I went to junior college on probation. I went to TCU on probation. I went to Dallas Seminary on probation. But I was a Greek major at Dallas Seminary because I got some bad advice. I signed up to be a New Testament major, not knowing that meant Greek. So and at Dallas Seminary, if you go to Dallas Seminary, it's a 4-year master, so it's a Greek major, but that means you automatically minor in Hebrew. So that was a great 4 years of my life, never even having had Spanish. But as you are, who's taking a language? Who's taking Hebrew or Greek? Okay, what do? If you're a language major, or if you study any of the original languages, you do what? Word studies. Word studies. Word studies. Guess what the word life means? The word life means what I asked you to do just a minute ago. The word life is to move towards someone. Now, how many of you, be honest, this is a Christian college, when I asked you to stand up and go meet some 2 total strangers, how many were you a little bit uncomfortable? Come on, let me see your hands. Okay. But once you actually did it, once you actually took the risk to reach out and you took that risk to move towards somebody, who actually learned something kind of cool about somebody in your group? Okay. Now, here's what I'm getting at. The word life in Scripture always had to do with movement. Okay. For example, in Hebrew, one picture of that is blood. But it's not so much the blood. The shedding of blood was such a big deal in the Old Testament because when you shed someone's blood, what would happen? It would stop. And when blood stopped, very bad things happened. So it was really the idea of movement, blood moving through the body or things moving towards each other. So the first choice is we get to choose life. Now what we understand too in our relationship with Christ is who does he say he is? The life. The life. Well, when you get plugged into Christ, guess what he gets you to do? He gets you moving. So when Christ puts his life in us, guess what he's asking us to do and empowering us to do is to get moving. Now, you're going to be working with tons of people that are flat stuck. And a lot of what the curse does, you'll see in just a minute, is to put them in that position. So the reason why I'm saying the blessing unleashes someone is it'll get them moving. Towards life in Christ and towards others. Now here's the second thing. Here's what the word death means. The word death literally means that up here, if you look up here, this is what it means, to step away. Okay? Now anybody ever, don't raise your hands, but anybody ever been in a relationship and boy, right off, man, this dating thing's just going great and then all of a sudden, they kind of, the tweets go down and the texts go down and then, usually you meet them, they're not there where you'd normally meet them, where you'd run into them, and the bottom line is they're stepping away. Now, let me tell you, the word death in Scripture means to step away. When you start stepping away from your parents, that relationship starts dying inside. When you start stepping away from a friend or from someone else. Now, the great news is, in our relationship with Christ, if we are faithless, it says he remains what? Anybody know? Faithful. So even if we step away emotionally from him, he doesn't move an inch, which is such an awesome thing about Jesus says in Hebrews 13:5, for he himself has said, Jesus says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So you're stuck with him giving you life and telling you to, hey, don't go toward death. So here's the first choice. Are you going to step towards him and towards others, or are you going to step away? Okay, and I see that all the time in a marriage and family context. Is I see people that started off stepping towards each other, and now they've chosen to step away, and their relationship's dying as a result. Well, what's the other choice? The other choice is to bless. Now, there's really 2 pictures. Hebrew has tons of word pictures. The first word picture is to bow the knee. To bow the knee. All right? Now, who comes from a culture? Does anybody come from a culture where they actually bow to people? Who watched the Olympics? Anybody this summer? Anybody watch the Olympics? Did anybody watch the really cool opening ceremony where the Queen bails out of the plane with 007? Anybody see that? You got to Google that if you haven't seen it. It was pretty cool. But what do all the parade? That's called the Parade of Nations, right? So whenever there's royalty at the host country, everybody's walking in, they have their flag bearer, right? Every nation on earth, when they, in this case it's the Queen, every nation on earth, when they went by the Queen, what do they do with their flag? They dip their flag. Except for who? The United States. We have never dipped our flag. in Olympic history. That's because that's not who we are. We don't bow to people. It's that old rugged, American kind of a thing, but we don't bow to people. And yet what bowing was a way of saying, in fact, do me a favor, lean over to somebody and just bow to him real quick. I know it's weird, but just go ahead and bow to him real quick. I mean, how weird is that? It's just really weird, okay? So we don't get it, and yet in certain cultures, in a lot of cultures, and certainly in biblical cultures, you bowed to somebody because they had incredible value. They had great value, great worth. And then here's what you did. Remember, there's two pictures. Okay, tell me your name. The gray shirt.
Sam.
Okay, so Sam, this is the second picture. So hopefully at some point in Sam's past, like he was a skill player, football or played baseball or something. So he's gonna catch this. I'm gonna throw him this, and so anyway, hopefully he wasn't a lineman. He'll knock it down and fall on it. Okay, but let's see if he can catch. Oh, he caught it. All right, give it to him. All right, okay. So maybe that was total luck. Hang on, let me try to do it. Okay, and there's. All right. Now that is literally then what it means to bless someone. Yeah, so you take out your wallet and hand. No. But stay with me just a minute. Remember, in Hebrew, the word blessing and honor are the same word. Hebrew is a triconsonantal base. Do you know what that means? It means most of the words have three consonants. The word blessing and the word honor are the same word. The only difference are vowel points underneath them. And you know what it means when you bless someone and you honor them? It's saying, you are so valuable, I bow the knee before you, and I want to, what? Add to your life. And it was the picture of adding a coin to a scale. Because how did they measure things back in biblical times? Did you just hand them a quarter? No, they took your coin, even if it had somebody's name on, or a picture on it or something, and you would put it in a what? A scale. The greater the weight, the more the value. Well, you're going to see there's 5 things you can add to somebody's life to bless them. So now you know, by the way, anybody been in church and heard that old thing, bless the Lord, oh my soul? Now you know what it means. Lord, whenever you say bless the Lord, you're saying, Lord, you are so valuable, I bow before you and I add my little bit of praise to you. Well, we can do that with people too. We can say, you are so incredibly valuable, I'm going to I'm going to choose to add to your life. But you don't have to do that. And you're going to be working with a ton of people that this is what they choose. The word curse in Hebrew literally means to dam up the stream. Okay, now I'm in Arizona. I'm from Arizona. Who's been to Arizona? Let me see your hands. You know when you were driving, like were you driving, like you were driving to California or something? Did you go across there? No. But if you're driving in Arizona, did you ever go across any of the rivers? And you know how they're empty? Almost all the rivers in Arizona are empty, except for a few times during the year. Here you drive across a river, there's actual water, okay? But in biblical times, guess what? Israel looks very much like Arizona. And when you dammed up the few streams that they were, then you caused huge suffering downstream. So when you curse someone, you dam up the stream. And I put in here, the story of Noah's Ark. Remember when the ark comes to rest, it said that the waters were cursed. Well, they weren't really cursed. Literally, they pulled away. So when you start pulling away life-giving water from somebody, you curse them. So think about this, and this is as technical as it gets. It gets real practical here in just a second, so just stay with me real quick. Jesus sits down in the middle of the day with this woman. She's been married, she's at a well, and she's been married how many times? 5 times. She's living with the 6th guy. Now you talk about somebody that's come from a life where 5 people have already stepped away from her, so now she's living with the 6th guy. She feels she has so much subtraction, she's out in the middle of the day getting water. What did that mean, ladies? That meant she had no connection with the other women. All the other women went out. I'm from Arizona. We get this, okay? You go to get water early in the morning. That's when all the women of the village would go out. She's out in the middle of the day all by herself. So think about that. She's had so much taken from her. And she sits down next to Jesus, and what did Jesus offer the woman at the well? Anybody remember? Living water. And it is because in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, He is the one that can reverse the curse. And so he's the only one that can really break down that dam. So, makes sense? Okay, so that's what it is. But you're going, well, yeah, that's still pretty esoteric. Well, let's get real specific. So then, what was the blessing? Well, there were 5 things that, like adding 5 coins, okay, 5 things that were like part of the blessing. So here's what I need for you to do. This won't strain you out too bad. Just shake somebody's hand around you. Just lean over, shake somebody's hand. Everybody shake somebody's hand. This won't kill you. Shake somebody's hand. Make sure you shake somebody's hand. Okay, turn around. Grab her hand, shake her hand. Poor thing. There you go. All right. Both hands shook. All right, there you go. All right, now try this later on. You don't have to do it today, but later on, grab somebody's hand. Don't grab it like no fingernails, but I mean, just take their hand and look at them and hold their hand. And if you hold their hand, one of the things that's going to happen is their eyes are going to dilate, okay? Now, maybe it's because you had the chili cheeseburger, you know, when you're talking to them or something. But appropriate, meaningful touch. Anybody have anybody in a nursing or in a health-related field? How important is appropriate, meaningful touch? Well, for example, children, premature babies gain weight 47% faster if they're touched or held. Our youngest daughter is a senior at Baylor. She's a nursing student. She's in her labor and delivery rotation. And you know what they do all day in the labor and delivery thing is they're delivering babies, but then they're carrying around premature babies. They're called kangaroo something, sacks or something. But here's this little premature kid that they're carrying around and they're touching and they're holding, because that appropriate touch causes physical growth. But I'm here to tell you, appropriate, meaningful touch is a powerful way to say, I love you. I remember when my dad died, I had tried, after I became a Christian, I tried really hard to build a relationship with my dad. But he just wasn't really interested. He was an old 3rd Marine Division guy and shot up in World War II. And I know there's lots of post-traumatic syndrome things, you know, today. But let me tell you, there wasn't a lot of, you know, it was just like get over it in World War II, and he never got over it. He just tried to drink away his problems and never could. And but I'll never forget when my dad died. He died in August, and I'm a slow distance jogger, and I was out jogging, and yet that means you got to go really early because August in Arizona. And I remember coming in, and I'm getting home about 6:30 in the morning, and I go down the hall, and Carrie, our oldest daughter, is in the hallway. And 6:30 in the morning, you know, and I'm going, what's the matter? And I see it, her eyes are red, she's been crying. And so I fall down on my knees and she falls into my arms. And one of the things when you guys have kids, little kids, their whole bodies cry when they cry. You know, so she, you know, just crying. So what's going on? So she finally calms down and she goes, well, Dad, I just realized Grandpa's gone and I never got to hug him. Now, let me tell you, appropriate, meaningful touch is ginormous. And it's also a great way to add to someone. I don't know, how many times have I said appropriate? Like a dozen. I mean, who's from Atlanta? They hug everything that moves, okay? But everywhere else you get arrested, okay? So you don't just walk out of here and hug everything. But the bottom line is that if you're serious about being a person of blessing, biblically, then Genesis chapter 27, a father says, please come close and hug me, my son. Jesus says, and he put them in his arms and blessed them. In the upper room, he blesses the disciples. So bottom line is appropriate touch. Here's the second thing. The blessing was always verbalized. Meaning, don't raise your hand, but did anybody know you were loved, but you never heard it? Now, I get this all the time in a counseling context where people know they were loved, but they never heard it. Well, they may have been loved, but they never got the blessing. And it is so important to say it. Well, what do you say? Well, number 3 is you say words that attach high value. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a long time ago, I was in my doctoral program and was taking some course on parametric testing. We had to create our own test as a part of that. Has anybody ever taken a testing course? You know, you have to take like the MMPI and the 16PF, and people just hate labels. So I came up with a personality construct a long time ago to help people kind of understand what their strengths are. So in this room, for example, there are some of you that are what we call lions, all right? Now, who are the lions? They're take charge, assertive. These are the people that think that stoplights are a tool of safety. Have you ever noticed that? The lions, okay? Have you ever been with a lion driving the car? Do they ever stop the car? No, keep the car moving, you know? So because if they're on a trip, if they ever stop the car, all the people they've been passing start passing them, you know? And they have to get in the car and chase them down. But they're great people, great leaders. You know, basically the way lions are, do you have to motivate them? No, you just point them. They're already motivated. So here's this guy named Saul. He's the top persecutor in the church. He's on his way to Damascus to kill him. He's just been at the death of Stephen. Now he's going to go to Damascus and kill a whole bunch of Christians because he's going to be the top persecutor, and he sees the resurrected Lord Jesus, and he goes from being the top persecutor to what? Now I'm the top evangelist, you know. So the great thing about lions are you just have to point them. You just got to get them in the right direction. They're great people, you know, because they're just super at that, okay? So anybody have a roommate right now that's a lion? Charge ahead. Okay, do you know what I'm saying? All right. Then there's some of you in this room that are what we call otters. Well, who are the otters? Well, they're the people that love to what? Yak, 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 yak. Why does the average otter come to something like this? Is it to learn anything? No, it's because there's people there. You know, they get to meet people. They just walked in. You know, but they love people. They love to start things. They start. They don't finish that much, but they love to start things. You know, so this is already their 5th major, but that's okay. You know, and they're going to start their term paper. Well, I got another 3 days. I only have 2 days. I'll start it tomorrow. You know, I'm going to go to that thing today. You know, but they're great people. So do they balance the checkbook at the end of details? Do they balance the checkbook to the penny? Otters? No, they just switch banks. And finally, just start a new semester, start a new bank account, and then finally they know their balance. But they're great people, fun-loving, enthusiastic. These are parties waiting to happen, basically, are the otters. And they always hang out in crowds, you know. So these are the people who are going bowling after this session, you know, tonight, you know. But they just love to be with people. And then there's some of us that are what we call golden retrievers. And they tend to be very sensitive, very caring, very compassionate. Okay, these are the kids that will actually send themselves to timeout. All right, how come? You know, because these are the people that tend to buy 18 when they grow up. They tend to buy 18 to 20 boxes of Girl Scout cookies every year because it's genetically impossible to say one small but very important word. What is it? No, really hard to say no. Which is why, if you're the lion boss, you need to hire a bunch of these people. Because you can overload them like crazy, you know. Hey, here's another project. And they always bristle. They go, that's not true. Really? Watch this. Hey, here's another project. You just gave me a project. Watch this. Yeah, but this one's for the team. Oh, well, okay. You know. So they hate to let people down. They're sensitive. They're caring. They're compassionate. I do a lot of work with the military. I just got back from Thule Air Force Base, Greenland. Remember high school geography? Iceland is green, Greenland is ice. So when you land at Thule Air Force Base, you were literally 30 minutes from the North Pole. And I was the only one in the C-130 screaming. Everybody else, I mean, we never should have landed, but it's a typical Air Force thing. We're gonna go on in. It'll be a little crazy, but anyway, it was crazy. But about 8 months ago, I was with the 82nd Airborne, and I'm with all. Think about this. I'm with all sergeants and some corporals, but all squad leaders, doing a team training kind of a deal. Okay. Now, these are tip of the spear. Ranger, most of them Ranger tab, blouse boots, that means they're all jump certified. And so what would you think they would be? The average sergeant or corporal paratroop sergeant, wouldn't you think they'd be what? A lion, you know, I'm going to take charge. Guess what? 84% of the people in the room were golden retrievers. And here's what I want you to understand. You can be a great leader, they just lead from different positions. Do you see what I mean? Because what they want to do is they want to get everybody in their squad back. You know, they want to accomplish the mission. type of a deal. So those are golden retrievers. They're great to have in a team. They're the glue that holds things together. But they're not the only people. What's on the class ring at MIT? Anybody know? What's on the class ring? Any engineers? What's on the class ring at Caltech? It's a beaver, okay? How come? Because beavers are organized and detailed and precise. These are the people that actually have sock drawers. Beavers do. They're so organized. They lay their socks out. Who has a roommate that lays their clothes out the night before anybody? Okay. But you know what I'm talking about? But these are the people that actually fold their dirty clothes and put them away. They balance the checkbook to the penny. They already finished all their big papers. Now they're just reviewing their review stuff from the semester. You know, just makes you sick. But they're great people. And this is my twin brother, Jeff. You know, he's a MD, PhD. He's a cancer doctor. I mean, anybody want to go to a cancer surgeon that's honored? Yeah, just cut anywhere, you know. My brother, who's detailed and organized and precise. But the beavers are great to have. I mean, think about the Christmas party. Who calls a Christmas party? They're like, we're having a Christmas party. Now, I'm not coming, but we're having one, you know. And then, of course, the otters, what do they say? Party! Party! And the way you can tell otters is usually they make horrible eye contact. Because they'll look at you for about 5 seconds and look who else is here. Oh, look who else is here. So they have to pollinate the whole room or the whole party, you know. Well, who do the golden retrievers talk to at the Christmas party? Who do they talk to? One person they already know really well, and they want to get to know them even deeper, because I really know you since grade school, you know. Or they'll talk to somebody who's hurting. But if you want to have a great party, then what? Then leave it to Beaver, right? Because they're the only ones to remember to bring their food, because it was on their list. I get to check it off my list. Yes, I get to check it off. They have a string with a ball, because they have to park the car right there, back up, right there, stop it. Well, take all of those people, put them in the same family, and now what is that? That is what? Wild Kingdom. So here's what you're going to do. Whoever's next to you, when you go home at Christmas, or maybe you're staying here at Christmas, that's fine. But what are the animals running around your home when you get home in a couple of weeks? All right? Ready, go. Just yak with somebody right around you. What are you? Tell them what you are, but then tell them what are some of the animals in the home that you're at here.